Welcome back, YouTube pipe smokers. Mutton Chop Piper here. Today's video is entitled The Art of Pipe Smoking, Volume 18, Parts of a Pipe. Now I realize that this video should have been produced months ago. Matter of fact, it should have been one of the first 10 videos that I produced. But it slipped through the cracks, so I'm doing it now. Why now? Well, I want it to be part of my video library, so that way if a new pipe smoker or someone who's considering taking up the pipe as a hobby will know what goes into or what materials are used in the production of a tobacco pipe. Let's get started. From here to here, here to here, is called the stummel. From here to here, here to here, is called the stem. Now the stummel can be made of several different materials, of which include briar, meerschaum, and clay. But today we're just going to focus on briar. Alright, let's look at the parts that make up the stummel. First part we're going to look at is the bowl. The bowl is this area here. Now before we get any further, the stummel can be produced in smooth or rusticated finishes. One thing about the bowl that you need to be aware of is the thickness of the bowl is a concern. The thicker the bowl, the cooler the smoke. Briar is a very dense wood and it absorbs heat slowly. So the thicker the briar, the more surface area there is to absorb heat. So the more briar you have, the less heat you're going to have come through to your mouth in the form of smoke. The next area we want to look at is the chamber. Now the chamber is the area where all the action happens. This is where your tobacco goes, this is where you light the tobacco, and the smoke travels through the pipe to your mouth. Now one thing that's not represented in this diagram is the carbon cake. When tobacco burns, it releases carbon. And that carbon adheres itself to the inside of the chamber, along the bowl, inside bowl walls. Now, the thicker your carbon cake, the cooler your smoke. Now, carbon, it produces helps with two things: heat and protection of the bowl. I have a pipe right now that has about this much carbon cake on this side and this much carbon cake on this side, and I want to show it to you now. As you can see, there's quite a bit of carbon inside this bowl. It won't be long before I will be doing a video on the removal of that excess cake. Now, like I said, the cake helps to do two things. One, it helps absorb the heat and protect the bowl. The thicker your cake, once you start burning your tobacco, it will absorb some of that heat. And whatever heat it can handle, the bowl will absorb the rest of it. So if you have a thick wall on your bowl and a thick carbon cake, you're going to get quite a cool smoke. The carbon cake also helps protect the pipe from a condition called blowout. Now, if you don't have any carbon at all built on into the chamber of your pipe, if there is a weak spot or a area that seems to get hotter than the rest of the chamber, it will start to burn the briar. And as it burns, it will sort of burn its way through the briar, and it will blow out the side here. You'll have a nice little hole. You'll know when you have a blowout because you'll have smoke coming out of here, smoke coming out of here, and of course smoke out of your blowout point. Once that occurs, you pretty much have to throw the pipe away. So a nice thick cake will help to protect this bowl from blowout. Alright, now there's two areas that were not included on this diagram that I included. One, this area is the heel, and this area is the foot. The last thing that we want to look at concerning the bowl in the chamber is the drought hole, or the draft hole, I call it. Now, this draft hole will connect the chamber and go along to the end of the stummel. Now, after you smoke your pipe, it's imperative that you clean this air hole. The one thing you don't want is you don't want this air hole to start to build carbon cake. So, as the tobacco burns, you get to the bottom, you dump out the ash, the dottle, or whatever else is down at the bottom, and then you run a pipe cleaner through here. It takes me 2 or 3 pipe cleaners to clean it out. Once you put a pipe cleaner in and draw it back out and it's clean, then you're done. Occasionally, a schedule that you set up for yourself, either monthly, 6 months, or yearly, depending on how many pipes you have, you need to do a deep cleaning. Because even though regular cleaning of this hole, there's still going to be some carbon buildup. And another thing that happens too, when tobacco burns, it produces moisture. And if you have not gotten that moisture out of there sufficiently enough, it will congeal and harden. So, every 6 months, every month, every year, depending on the schedule you have set, you need to do a deep cleaning. And what you do then is you take pipe cleaners that have rough edges and you dip it in alcohol, or they do sell a product called pipe sweetener. And those rough pipe cleaners will get in there and they'll scrub that wall clean of any carbon deposits, dottle, or moisture that has congealed. Once you clean that out really good, you put a pipe cleaner in, pull it out. If it's clean, then you have been successful in cleaning this hole. Alright, from this point here to this point here is considered the shank. Now at the end of the shank, you're going to have what's called a mortise. At the end of the stem, you're going to have a tenon. Now, the mortise and the tenon are machined together because you want a snug fit. You want your tenon to snugly fit into your mortise. So in order to do that, they need to be machined together. Now, if for some reason your stem breaks, you can't just go to a brick and mortar tobacco store or an online store and say, hey, can you send me another stem? Mine broke. You'll have to end up sending this stummel away back to the manufacturer, and they will produce a new stem with a tenon that will fit into this mortise. Now, it is possible, if you know a pipe maker, they could accomplish the same thing. Or some pipe repairers can do the same as well. But like I said, the mortise and tenon are machined together so that you have a nice, not overly tight, but a nice snug fit of your tenon into your mortise. Now let's look at the stem. The stem also has a draft hole, and stems are traditionally made out of certain types of material. The materials that they're made out of include vulcanite, lucite, bakelite, and soft plastic. The two materials that stems are mainly made out of are vulcanite and lucite. Let's take a look at the stem. Part of the stem here is the bit, and that's the area that you clench when it's in your mouth. Your teeth rest on this area here. You also have, at the very end, you have a button, or what I like to call a lip. Now that draft hole goes all the way from through the stumble, through the stem, and out to your mouth. There are some manufacturers that make a lip or button called a P-lip. The company that produces this type of bit most commonly is Peterson. Now what the P-lip does is it's got the hole in the very top. See how the hole is right here in the middle? Their air hole, or their draft hole, goes up through the very top, guiding the smoke to the roof of your mouth and not onto your tongue. This cools the smoke further, and it produces less tongue bite than a traditional stem. Now I don't own a Peterson, and I've never smoked a pipe with a P-lip, but they sell very well, and those that do smoke them say that they accomplish the goal of cooling the smoke. Now, when you're cleaning the stem, you're not so much worried about the carbon, because the carbon really can't make it all the way up through here. But what you are concerned with is as the tobacco burns, like I said, it produces moisture. That moisture will get in here, and if you don't send a pipe cleaner through here to clean this, it will congeal and harden. And it will harden to where it will cut off that airflow, so you will not be able to draw your smoke through your pipe. So, after you're done smoking, send a pipe cleaner down through here, and you clean this stem, this draft hole, with a regular pipe cleaner. Usually takes me 2 or 3 pipe cleaners, and then the 4th one I send down through here, pull it out, and it is clean. Now again, like the stumble, you have to do a deep cleaning on your stem. So what I do when I deep clean my stem is, again, I take a rough pipe cleaner, dip it in either grain alcohol, which is my preferred method, or you can use the pipe sweetener, and you scrub those walls good. Then you send another pipe cleaner through to clean it. You do this until when you send the pipe cleaner through, a dry pipe cleaner, and it comes out completely dry and clean, you have successfully deep cleaned your stem. Alright, well that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Till my next video, I want to wish you and your family happy piping.